Hi, you're listening to Book Chat with author Vivian E. Moore.
Click, listen, enjoy.
Keep listening to our weekly episodes to find out more.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Book Chat. I hope you're having a lovely weekend. And just because you asked, yes, I'm having a great weekend too. I so enjoy having these chat sessions every Saturday at 6 with you. And I can tell that you're enjoying them as well. And, just keep checking me out. I appreciate it so very much. And keep spreading the word about the show. That's very important. Word of mouth works a whole lot faster than expensive advertising. So I do appreciate everything that you do on my behalf. And I thank you most of all for listening to the show, because that is more important to me than anything. All right. So now that I have, just praised you to the utmost, I hope that you're ready for today's show, and I won't hold you any longer than necessary. So on that note, we're going to get straight to it. All right. So the title of today's show is Batter Up, and the topic is what's next in your book lineup. As a writer, you work all the time working on a current project, but while you're elbow deep in this one, there's always another one on the horizon, or there should be. That's how it is with writers. We never take a day off. In a way, it reminds me of baseball, and I'm not a fan, to be sure. However, I understand the rotation process when it comes to the game. Now, I'm not saying that baseball is like a continuous kind of thing, but we know how it is during baseball season. It's like they play, seems like every single day. But anyway, there's always another player at the ready, especially if the team is batting above average and filling the bases with runners. This is where the lineup becomes crucial. Now, not every member of the team will get a chance to bat. There is certain criteria to be met before you make the batting list. But, I won't go into details about what these conditions are. Nevertheless, you understand the process of rotation and why it is always good to have your next project on standby. Mainly because the writing world is a fickle place of vast variety, and you should always remember that. And not only this, but readers are ready and waiting for the next great read. Imagine this. What if you wrote this amazing book and you're new on the scene? Instantly, it becomes the next bestseller, and book crowds are going wild over your work. Now, for seasoned authors who have already made a name for themselves, they don't have to worry about this. Their fans are loyal and will wait until the end of the world for their next book. I'm speaking to the newbies who think their work is done and can rest on their laurels. Unless you want to be a one-hit wonder, I suggest having a lazy Susan of stories on hand to appease the fans. Okay, I understand how long it takes to write a book. I've wrote many of them. Yet it takes less time for readers to devour it. One way to stave off a reading drought is to make sure you have plenty of options available for them to choose from. This is why series make such great reads and are wildly popular. If the book is a hit, of course, they will want more. So to avoid keeping them waiting for too long, write them all at once before you release the first one. Trust me, I learned a valuable lesson about patience. Not everyone has this ability, and we all know how hard it is to wait for it. Short stories are perfect for hungry book fans. Pardon me. They take less time to write in most cases, and the beauty of this type of book is that they make great stories, or of these types of books is that they make great stories. Now, let's break down the process. If it takes a year or longer to write a complete novel, then the next one in your book lineup will probably take just as long. The goal is to keep a steady lineup, and the problem will be solved by creating 3 books from one or divided into 2 just to even things out. You know, and this is just a truth moment. When I wrote If Tomorrow Comes. Now, when I started writing this book, it became I'm passionate about everything I do, but this book was almost like an obsession. It was like I couldn't stop writing. You know, I couldn't stop telling the story about these 2 people that I just absolutely adore. And before I knew what was happening, I was well past 800 pages. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know, this is going to be so expensive to try and publish, and not to mention editing, because those are a lot of words, you know. So basically what I did was I took my own advice and I broke the book down into 2, and possibly I could have broke it down into 3 books. But you know what? I think 2 is enough. You know, I didn't want to overkill, but still, you know, it's such a great story. And I haven't read any reviews yet about the second book. You know, the first one was If Tomorrow Comes, Requiem, and then the second book is If Tomorrow Comes, Genesis. I haven't read any reviews yet about the book. I haven't. I've been so busy, you know, with my next project, and that's how I know about, you know, having the next thing lined up, because, you know, there is a time lapse between processing of books. And because it does take a while to write a well-crafted story. And then, you know, once you've done your part, it moves on to the next stage, and then they have to do their part. So, you know, and then there's still more time in between before the book is actually released. So what I try to do is during these times, after I finish writing the book, after I've done my part of the editing and all of those things, I start working on something else. I always have something else lined up, and I pray to God that it will always be that way. You know, I don't take it for granted that, you know, that another story will come to life. So I'm very thankful. I'm very grateful of the blessings that come my way to keep me, you know, writing on a regular basis. But I always try to keep something, you know, on the back burner, that I can work on, you know, as my next story release. Now, you know, I've been writing for a very long time, so, you know, I have a multitude of stories out there that I can release, but, you know, I generally release what speaks to my heart, and my thing about that is that if it speaks to my heart, then I know it'll speak to the reader's heart as well. So that's why a lot of the books that I've written, I never released them. They were never published because I felt as though they weren't ready yet. You know, they're like your kids, and I've said this before, you know, you don't put a baby outside of the house for it to fend for itself before it's old enough to do so. So that's how I feel about my books. I feel that, you know, that maybe during that time when I was writing those books, you know, maybe I wasn't at the most mature state of writing at that time. You know, when I look back over at those stories too, I see that they still need a lot of work. So I know that those stories weren't ready to be, you know, to be put out yet. But I mean, who's to say that they won't come later, that I won't go back and tweak them and then they will be able to be published later. But some things you just know, you just feel it in your heart of hearts that no, that's a no-go. Don't put that out there because, you know, that was for you. That was for you to learn how to, you know, to experience the craft of writing. That's what it was. That was just for you to learn from and to hone your skill by, you know, just writing those stories. And then, you know, as you mature as a writer, you sort of learn the way. You learn, you know, what works and what doesn't. So, and like I said, you know, that was when I wrote a lot of those books. It was during the time when I didn't have a lot of experience under my belt. I was just writing. You know, I always write from the heart. So those books came from the heart, but, you know, they're just not, I don't think they're worthy to be set loose upon the world. I mean, other people may feel as though they are, but I just feel as though they're not. So that's why they're still there. But, you know, I still always am working on something. Currently, I'm working on my next project to be released. And then I have 2 more books that I will release that I'm working on. So I always have more than one thing, more than one book I'm working on at a time. And it's always been this way. And and I don't foresee it stopping, only God knows. But anyway, this is how I know about, having something current in your lineup. Always have something, on that back burner that you can use. Because like I said, if you write a great book and people appreciate what you write, it's as if they can't get enough of you. And you don't want to keep them waiting too long. I really think that that's a prideful thing, when you make people wait excessively for your next book, because you're thinking, well, okay, you take them for granted. They'll be there waiting for me. They like my last project. They'll be there waiting for me, waiting for the next book to come out. And that's not always the case. So, it's a valuable lesson to not be that way. Be humble about everything you do, because people appreciate you more, when they can relate to you on that level. So, I give this advice because, I've gone through it myself, and not that I've ever been anything but humble about this experience. But, and I never meant to take anybody's loyalty for granted in making them wait for my next book. But, sometimes things are out of your control. And so, they ask about it, but you always keep them interested by telling them it's coming, it's coming, just wait, read the other book, in the series. So that way you'll be all caught up again and fresh, when the next one comes out. So, but anyway, I know that every writer doesn't write series per se. However, this form of writing is trending. It really is, because let me tell you, I just finished a fantastic series of books by Danica Dark. You need to get them. But anyway, because I love never-ending stories, and she just doesn't have one set of series of books out. She has multiple. So I just finished, I think it was 6 books in the series. Could have been 5, I'm not sure. But anyway, they were all great. But, and I do realize that every story must end. But to keep the ball rolling, or your lineup fully covered, consider it, and you and your readers will never be left wondering who's next in your lineup. All right, folks. So that is the show today in a nutshell. And before I let you go, I want to give you out some of these URLs. The first one, of course, is to Spreaker, and that is https://www.spreaker.com/user/author Vivian E. Moore. You can also check me out on Facebook. I have several different pages, but this is my main one. Is https://www.facebook.com/Vivian Moore author. You can also follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is God's Property 46. My website address is https://Instagram.com/God's Property 51. You can also check out my website, which is https://VivianMoore.wixsite.com/author Vivian Moore. And you can also check out today's blog as well as past blogs on my blog site, which is at https://VivianEmore.blogspot.com. If you want to listen to the show live, if you want to listen to the recording, you can go to iHeartRadio and also iTunes podcast and pick the show up either live, or you can pick it up, the recording. Either way, it's still great. Well, anyway, folks, that's all I have for you today. Tomorrow is worship day. I hope you're planning on going to church. Just let me give you a recap of last Sunday, because I told you last Saturday about our pastor's anniversary. It was awesome, folks. Let me just tell you, it was so great. Everything was just tremendous. And, I am just so proud of our pastor, because, he is one of those rare people who are not only, a minister of God's word, but he's also an educator. So, you can't go wrong when you have that type of combination in the midst. But anyway, it was great. The food was great. The people were great. The food was great. I have to keep saying that because it really was. But, and I wish that you would have experienced it with us. We had such a great time, such a lovely time. But anyway, tomorrow's first Sunday. and I hope that you're planning on going to church to worship. It's Communion Sunday, so take a family member, take a friend, take some children with you to church tomorrow, and by all means tell somebody that you love them, because tomorrow is not promised. Today may be the only chance you get to say that. Until the next time you hear my voice, I love you. I hope you love me back. God bless you, and goodbye.
If you enjoyed today's show, please head over to iTunes, give us a rating, and leave a review.
Thank you for listening.